Andrew Stanton, who is the creator of the Wally character in the story, he apparently jokingly referred to his movie as the R2-D2 the movie. He sort of wanted to develop a very affable robot character that didn't speak or had very limited speech, that was mostly sound effects of its body moving and a few strange kind of vocals. Someone, his producer, I think Jim Morris, said, well, why don't you just talk to Ben Burtt, the guy that did Wally? So they got in touch with me. Pixar is in the Bay Area, San Francisco, so it's nearby. And I went over and looked at about 10 minutes that Andrew Stanton had already put together with just still pictures, storyboards of the beginning of the film where Wally's out on his daily work activities, boxing up trash and so on, and singing and playing his favorite music. Of course I was inspired by it, and I thought, well, here's a great challenge, and I took it on. And this was a few months before they had to actually greenlight the project. I didn't figure that out later, but there was some doubt at that time. Could you make a movie in which the main characters don't really talk in any kind of elaborate way? They don't use a lot of words. Would it sustain the audience's interest? The original intention in the film that I started working on was that there was no spoken language in the film that you would understand at all. And that was a goal at one point. And as things went along, it just couldn't tell the story without having, otherwise you'd have Wally just putting cassettes in his machine, listening to the exposition from the past, but you know, the movie. And so I kind of took a little bit of the R2 idea to come up with a voice that was a human performance would be part of it, but it had to have other elements to it that made it seem electronic, machine-like. And Wally wasn't going to beep and boop and buzz like R2. It had to be different. So I struggled along trying different things for a few months and trying different voices, a few different character actors. I often ended up experimenting on myself because I'm always available. You know, it's like the scientist in his lab takes the potion because there's no one else around to test it. Jekyll and Hyde, I think that's what it is. And so I took the potion and turned into Mr. Hyde. But it eventually ended up, I had a program, it was a kind of sophisticated music program called the Kima. And it had one sound in it, a process where it would synthesize a voice, but it didn't do very well. The voice had artifacts that had funny distortions in it and extra noises that are not, it didn't work perfectly as a voice, as a pure voice. But I took advantage of the fact that the artifacts and mistakes in it were useful and interesting and could be used. And I worked out a process where you could record sounds, starting with my own voice, and then process them a second time and do a re-performance where, as it plays back, you can stretch or compress or re-pitch in real time the sounds. So you can take the word, you know, Wally, and then you could make it Wally. You know, you could. It's not bad, actually. But it had sort of an envelope of electronic noise around it, gave it a texture that made it so it wasn't human, and that's what really worked. And of course, it was in combination with his arms and his head, little motors, his treads. Everything was part of his expression. The idea was to always give the impression of what Wally was thinking through sound, you know, just as if you were playing a musical instrument and you wanted to make little phrases of music which indicated the feeling for what kind of communication was taking place. So essentially that was it.
Okay, just one